The ANC's National Executive Committee meeting ahead of that 55th National Conference, and there seems to be high expectation that the saga around the theft of the president's game farm Phala Phala will top the agenda. Political analyst Dr. Sithembile Mbete joins me now. Good evening. It's lovely to have you join us. This is the first face-to-face meeting in 2 years, and the calls inside the party for the president to come clean are gaining volume. But Sithembile, what we already know is that the Integrity Commission report as it stands doesn't seem to really add any clarity, except a call to the president to tell what he knows on a matter that has brought the ANC into disrepute. As outsiders, should we even be hopeful that this matter can be decisively handled inside the party this weekend?
Good evening, Iman. Thanks so much for having me, and hi to all the viewers at home. Look, I think that the likelihood that this matter will be decisively handled by the NEC this weekend is highly unlikely. As you've said, the Integrity Commission, there was a leaked report that is supposedly from the Integrity Commission, which has basically stated that seems to find that the Phala Phala matter has brought the ANC into disrepute, but doesn't attribute that to any particular individual. It makes no conclusions really on whether it is the president or Arthur Fraser, who is the one who leaked the news about Phala Phala in the first place, or the people who were involved on the president's farm, who are the ones. So it doesn't seem to be particularly conclusive on anything. There have been reports that one of the findings or the conclusions of the report that has been a contested conclusion is that, or recommendations of the report that's been contested, is that the president should take some time to step away from his position for a while until this matter is resolved. But it's not clear whether that has been included in the report that's going to be presented tomorrow. I certainly think that in terms of any conclusive findings, we're not going to have anything from this NEC meeting. We know that there is the parliamentary process that is also taking place and that's ongoing. That investigation meant to be concluded by the end of November. And basically that panel is meant to make a recommendation about whether there should be any legal action taken against the president because of what's happened in Phala Phala. So I think we've still got a ways to go before getting any kind of conclusion on this matter.
And we'll certainly keep our ears close to the ground on that one to see what emanates from this all-important NEC meeting. So that's the Phala Phala matter on the one side, in part. Let's talk about some of the reports that Sithembile was just reminding us will be delivered in this meeting as a way of understanding just some of the other marquee issues that the ANC must consolidate and bring to prominence ahead of the national conference.
Well, certainly, as Sithembile said, there'll be a report from the president. There'll be the organizational report that's going to be delivered at this NEC by the deputy president of the ANC, Didi Mabuza. And this is really in preparation for the reports that will be given at the elective conference in December. And so to get whatever feedback, whatever input from the NEC on those reports. We heard earlier as well from the press conference that took place earlier today with the Treasurer General, Paul Mashatile, that there will be other reports like on the matter of electoral reform and the electoral amendment bill that's currently going through Parliament. There will also be reports on, apparently there'll be a cost of living report. They commissioned a study on cost of living that's going to be reported back on Sunday. There'll also be a more detail and discussion around an Alliance Economic and Energy Summit that is scheduled for the first week of December. There will also be a report, very importantly today, from the Elections Committee of the ANC, just basically updating the NEC on a number of by-elections and apparently also reporting on research that they have undertaken, presumably about the ANC's current popularity and standing and its prospects for the 2024 election.
As we've just been discussing, I'll come back to the leadership and the contestation in just a moment, because it's going to be interesting to see how, all of those who've kind of throwing their hats in the ring are going to interact with each other. But the meeting is supposed to discuss, as you've just been sharing with us, the preparations for the 55th NEC. It's going to cover a number of reports. You've touched on some of them already. But based on what you have seen and heard, and also just watching the road through the PECs and the RECs, and some of the issues that have come up during the election, of the regional and the provincial committees. A lot of course, without a doubt, a lot of focus on who's going to emerge in terms of the executives regionally and provincially speaking, but also on the notion of unity and the ANC preserving its position, ahead of the 2024 national elections. How do you see that playing out?
Look, I think that those discussions about how the ANC's position is going to evolve between now and 2024, and whether or not they'll be able to hold on to a national majority in 2024, I imagine that those discussions are going to dominate quite heavily, particularly today and tomorrow. I think that what the recent events that we've seen in Ekurhuleni around the vote of no confidence in the mayor and the ANC's inability to reach an agreement with the EFF just paints in sort of very stark relief just how much the ANC it seems to be struggling with being an opposition party, at least in the Gauteng metros, and the realities of how difficult coalition politics really is. And I think that's an illustration of the kind of reckoning that the ANC is going to need to have with itself, and some of the big decisions that are going to need to be made between now and 2024 about how it will approach a situation, or how it would approach a situation where it fell below 50% and had to go into coalition with a smaller party. So I think those issues are certainly going to play a role. And then, of course, the bigger organizational problems that the party faces, right? We know that there's been people who've been unpaid for the longest time, staffers, that some of the branches haven't actually been able to get together in some of the provinces. The Free State province still hasn't had its conference. And so I think these organizational matters that have really undermined the ANC's ability to govern, I think, are probably going to make feature quite heavily. Interestingly, I think there won't be as much on policy, which should be of concern, given that the ANC is a national governing party, and our country faces myriad crises and multiple difficulties at this time.
And I wonder if that has been eclipsed by the contestation in the leadership race. Dr. Mbete, you have covered a number of these, and we have spoken together in the field many, many times. As you see this leadership race shape up, are there any distinguishing features? We know that contestation is hard and robust, to use a word that the ANC is kind of owning. But are there any distinguishing factors this time around than there have been in previous election sort of, pre-national conference campaigns?
Look, I think one of the interesting factors this time around has been just how open the contestation has been, and just how vocal people have been about their ambitions for power and for wanting to run one way or the other. Often what used to happen is people would say, well, if the party, I will listen to the branches and I'll do what I'm asked to do. But they seem to be much more open, much more robust, so to speak, competition. And I think that is certainly a response to, to what seems to be Cyril Ramaphosa's win as president being, a done deal in December. And I think we've seen a lot more competition, a lot more vocal competition than we've seen previously. Something secondly that's interesting and kind of different, I think, in the last 2 or 3 elective conferences is that there don't seem to be any obvious slates on either side. We know that in 2017, what you had the top six that was eventually elected was a mixture of the two main slates that were in contestation in 2017. And what we've seen this year is it hasn't really emerged any definite slates with any of the for any of the main candidates that have run. It seems as though it will be Cyril Ramaphosa and Zweli Mkhize who will be up against each other in December, and probably with Paul Mashatile as deputy president. But it's not really clear who all else is on those slates, and I find that particularly interesting this time around as well.
The English have a saying, there's many a slip betwixt the cup and the lip, Dr. Mbete. So there's everything to play for, I suppose, in the very short time between now and that all-important national conference for the ANC. Thank you for your time and for your analysis. We appreciate it, Dr. Sithembile Mbete. Thank you very much.